Honestly, after watching The Conjuring, Last Rites, something about that night has been stuck with me ever since. Usually when I watch a horror movie, the fear fades away as soon as the lights in the theater come back on. But this time, it felt different. The uneasiness lingered, and later that night, a few things happened that I still can't completely explain. So I went to see Last Rites pretty late. Last showing of the night. The theater was nearly empty, just a handful of people scattered in the back rows. I thought that would be perfect. Fewer distractions, more focus on the movie. But being in such a quiet, empty theater while watching a Conjuring film, it felt less like watching a movie and more like being part of a ritual. Every silence in the film was matched by complete silence in the room. I could hear people breathing softly a few rows away, and somehow that just made it creepier. Then, during one of the exorcism scenes, the whole theater went dead quiet. And I swear, I felt like something brushed past the back of my chair. Of course, when I turned around, there was no one there. Maybe it was just my imagination. Or maybe the movie had already gotten under my skin. But the strangest moment came about halfway through. The seat right next to mine let out this slow, creaking sound. The problem was, that seat was completely empty. At first I ignored it. Maybe it was just the air conditioning or the low rumble of the subwoofers vibrating through the rows. But then it happened again, louder this time. And suddenly I couldn't focus on the movie anymore. All I could think was, what if I'm not actually sitting here alone? Now, about the film itself. Last Rites still follows the classic Conjuring formula. Dark, claustrophobic settings, religious rituals, demons that love to appear out of nowhere. But this one felt heavier. The religious atmosphere was more intense than ever. Even the title, Last Rites, refers to the Catholic prayer given to someone on their deathbed. From start to finish, the movie plays out less like a haunting and more like a meditation on faith, death, and what lies beyond. And that's what really stuck with me afterward, because jump scares, those fade pretty quickly. But themes of death, faith, and the possibility of something waiting on the other side, those stay with you. There's one particular scene, I won't spoil it, but Ed Warren is forced to face a choice that feels painfully human. It wasn't about defeating a demon with holy water or Latin prayers. It was about loss, about love, about what it means to hold on when everything is being torn away. That scene hit me harder than any monster popping out of the dark ever could. It's why I think Last Rites is not only scarier in some ways, but also more emotional than the earlier films. And that combination is what made it so unforgettable. Later that night, I started reading up again on the real Ed and Lorraine Warren, and apparently the idea of last rites really does appear in some of their case files. In moments where families felt utterly powerless, priests would perform that ritual as a kind of final shield against evil. The movie dramatizes it, of course, but knowing that there's even a kernel of truth there, that made me feel like I hadn't just watched fiction. It felt more like a story loosely based on something that could have really happened. And that realization, that's what gave me chills long after the credits rolled. Compared to other horror films, The Conjuring, Last Rites doesn't just throw cheap jump scares at you. It builds this slow, heavy sense of dread. Sometimes it feels almost too slow, but that's part of what makes it so effective. You're forced to sit in that atmosphere, to soak in the tension until it's practically pressing down on you. And by the time the big moments come, you're already so unnerved that they hit even harder. Walking out of the theater, I kept asking myself, if something like this were real, if the Warrens truly went through this, how prepared would any of us be to face something like that? What would our faith or fear look like in that moment? Even now, when I think back on Last Rites, The images that come to mind aren't just the demons or the shadows. It's the prayers, the whispered words spoken in the middle of pure terror. And that's what makes this movie different. It's not just about fear of the dark. It's about how humans hold on to faith when the darkness feels overwhelming. It's about death and what it means to prepare for it. That's why it still lingers with me, why I still think about it, even days later. So here's my question for you. Have you seen The Conjuring, Last Rites yet? And if you have, did it stick with you the way it did with me? Did you walk out of the theater and feel like something was following you home? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I'm really curious how many people had their own strange experiences after this film. And if you haven't seen it yet, my advice is to go watch it at night in a quiet theater. Sit through it, walk home afterward, and ask yourself if it really was just a movie. Or maybe, just maybe, something more.